in once again, Joel Wooton. Joel, 21st year here at the program?
Something like that.
Well, a new twist this year, Joel. You're taking on the men's and the women's teams. Just talk a little bit about that extra load on you. What's that been like in coordinating those two teams and getting this thing started?
It hasn't been terrible bad just from a logistics standpoint because we came in with an idea of what we were going to do for practice times and all that kind of stuff, and it will change when volleyball is done. But it's been okay. It's a lot of load though. You're right, and it's I get tired, and
Imagine.
yeah, and it doesn't help anything. I had my hip replaced and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but now we're getting close to the games, and I think it'll kind of. I mean, you would think the games make it more, but they actually make it less.
Okay.
They make it a little easier to because your games you just go, and you don't have to spend a lot of time. You've already done your preparation before that. So.
Yep. What was the recruiting process like? You knew what you had probably coming back and what you identified for the men's side, but on the women's side, did you have to do a little extra homework to try to bring in some folks?
A little bit. Lynn had already signed like 13 girls, so I actually had to do more on my side than when I say my side, the men's side than the women's side, because we didn't bring a lot of guys back from last year's team, and we've brought a few extra players this year just because we wanted to make sure we didn't run into problems of injuries and that kind of thing that would make it hard for the team to finish the way we should finish. So. I will tell you that because of the late start with the women, it was hard to try to find even the few that I was trying to find. I spent a lot of time, in some of our old stomping grounds. I talked to, people in New Zealand and Australia, and that they were the ones who were going to come for this year were already gone. And then, Las Vegas, I talked to a whole bunch of girls because that's, Vicky used to get a lot of girls from Las Vegas, but even that we were pretty late on the battle there. And believe it or not, when I say believe it or not, I talked to a lot of Native American girls because they were still, some of them were still looking, but they didn't really want to come this far. That's a part of what you got to do. That's probably one of the bigger differences with women than men is they're less likely to come this far. And we had, like I said, a late start. We lost like 2 or 3 girls from Georgia that ended up going somewhere else because we were a little late on them.
Timing.
Yeah, the timing of it. So, and then Nebraska was pretty well picked over by the time we got to it. So it was more of a struggle there. And since, I've been away from the women's side for quite a few years, I didn't realize how late that was.
Yeah.
Now on the men's side, you can recruit right up until August, and there's still a lot of players available. So that's one of the differences.
Yeah, before we start to talk about this year, let's just real quickly touch on last year and the talent that you had, and specifically Justin Bolus. What a good kid, and it sounds like he will get some playing time as a preferred walk-on there at the university. Just a little bit about the kind of the imprint he put on this program.
Sure, great kid, like you said, great person. If anything, he was probably a better person than he was even a player. But he was one of those kids that you told him what you wanted him to do to get better, and he just kept getting better and better and better. And I'm not sure they really thought he was going to be as good over there as he has been in their practices.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, he's a little further ahead than we thought he was going to be." And I said, "Well, he's just that kind of kid. You tell him to do something, and he was going to work at it, and he was going to get better at it, and that's just what they've seen is like, oh, he's better than we thought he was going to be." So yeah, awesome. And like I said, not a better not a more deserving kid than him, and I think they're looking at him as, gee, they're going to redshirt him this year, which makes sense, but I think they're looking at him going, oh, I think he might be ready to play some, a year from now. And 2 years from now is really what they're looking at, for him to be able to step right in and, be one of the guys. And they already think he's a lot closer than they ever anticipated him being.
Yeah, that's nice. Kind of a diamond in the rough that's working out, and he worked out here too.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about this year. First of all, for the men, I caught a couple practices. You got a few familiar faces, but you got a lot of newcomers, and you look at where a lot of these, not a lot of them, but some of these guys are from. You've done a nice job recruiting in the metro. Is that something new? Or?
Yeah, I think we got a lot of kids out of Lincoln, and we've been kind of, since we moved up here, we've done a little more of that. We've got some out of Omaha that we really haven't in a few years. We've been selective of who we wanted to get, what schools they came from, those kind of things. Coming from really good programs, and you kind of want to deal with that versus, maybe some issues that you might have. But yeah, I think we hit that pretty hard, and we did our normal thing. We looked outside of the Nebraska to see what else we could find, and I think we probably did a better job of filling in holes than we have in the past. Before, I think we just brought players in and, okay, we'll make them fit, whatever. We'll make a system fit to them. Well, this year I think we did a better job of filling in holes. We need this, okay, so we went out and got this. We need this, so we went out and got that. So I think we did a better job of that.
You've hit Georgia. You've got a couple more guys from LaGrange. You just keep tapping into that market down there. That's worked out well for you.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just they play a game that's a little more athletic than we have in Nebraska. It's a little faster, so it's probably actually a little closer to junior college, the way we play in junior college versus, so they're probably closer, and that's why that's been a success for those kids to come here. Got a kid from Florida that's that way. Josh Roberts was working with him, one of our past All-Americans, and he's the one that called me and said, Coach, you need to get this kid. And so we got him, and I'm really happy to get him. Great kid. Just a great fit into, like I said, not only what we needed, but into what we're looking for and the kinds of people that we have.
You'll run that pretty speedy up-tempo offense again, that you're kind of still built for that?
Oh, yeah, we may be faster than we've been. Oh, okay. And just because I think we have more depth than we've had in the past 2 or 3 years, and they understand they're learning this, but they're understanding that you just play as hard as you can while you're on the floor, and then we have somebody that's going to step in, and there's not going to be a lot of difference between, who's on the floor and who steps in for them. Yeah. Makes a big difference.
Yeah. Let's talk about the ladies real quick. Now, there are some more familiar faces there. You've got Rakestraw, and then the Sanders girl, and a couple more familiar faces. But relatively speaking, we're going to see a bunch of fresh people out here.
Absolutely. A lot of freshmen, a lot of new players. I'll say it this way. It's been a challenge, to get them to learn what we're trying to teach in the college game and the way we want to play. And they're getting it, but it's a slower process. And not that women are slower than men. It's just they're not used to playing at a higher speed, where men are probably a little more used to playing at a higher speed.
So you'll run the similar offense with the women's team that you're doing the men's teams. That's correct?
Yeah.
I mean, that's your style, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll I don't know how fast we'll play, but we'd like to play faster, and we'd like to play bodies, and running in them out. And I would say, if nothing else, we'll probably play defensively a little more of what I want to do.
A little more aggressive, full court type stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I think that's probably more of a fit to our style, which creates offense for you if you do a pretty good job playing defense.
Talk about your schedule and the way that conferencing is going. From what I understand, Region 9 is really going to kind of disappear here, or there will be a lot of adjustments. Yes, on the
Division 2
what's coming up? I mean, can you say anything, or
Well,
is it still up in the air?
I think it's I think it's a little still up in the air, but I think we're kind of leaning towards like what baseball and wrestling are doing. We've looked at a couple of other avenues, and I just don't think it's going to work. Where we can go out, and we're probably leaning more at going and playing the Colorado schools, and in a year from now. So I think that's probably more of what we're going to see, in the future. But we're going out this week to play in Colorado in a jamboree. And we really wanted to do it because we wanted to see, kind of what we're going to run into, so we kind of know recruitment-wise what we're going to need to do differently, or if we need to do anything differently recruitment-wise for the future. So, like I said, in the past they wouldn't let us in because they were pretty much a predominantly Division I jamboree. Well, since we're looking at that, they were more willing to listen for us to go see, and like I said, that gives not only the players we have that are freshmen what it's going to be like, but it gives us a chance to look at what we're going to have to do to recruit.
Get yourself tooled up.
Yep.
But for this year, we'll have a Region 9 championship, and
Yep.
that Region 9 will advance to these super regional.
The district, the district, yes. Right. The men's will be the same. The women, they went to region champion, and then they went to Iowa versus going north. Okay. They have one team from the north, which could be us, but then you turn around and you play Iowa in their district. So yeah, it's a little, but on the men's side, it's still going north for that district. Gotcha.
Well, I mean, college athletics up and down the line here. There's so many changes, and we're not immune to that here. I mean, This is coming, and get ready. Here we go.
Absolutely. And we looked at it from a lot of different angles. You don't want to be an independent at our level because you got to play so many junior college games, and you got to be above 500 if you're not in a region as such to even get to play in a region playoff. And you can have a not so great year when you're in region and still get to play. Where if you're an independent, you're pretty much stuck, and you're stuck who you're going to play, because, we looked at, like I said, different things. Well, in the second half of the year, it's always been hard for us to find teams to play, but losing Central and really kind of, I shouldn't say it that way, but we were kind of at the point where we were going to lose McCook and North Platte. If we went to a different direction, well, now who are we going to play in the second half of the year? And starting next year, you're only allowed to play 3 JV games. Right. And so that, goes into it as well because, we played a few JV games just because they were close. And so, what are you going to do? Who are you going to play the second half of the year? Well, now the second half of the year, that schedule is to a degree made for you. You're going to play your 12 or 14 games in region, so you know who you're going to play, and so that makes it a little different. Yeah, and so the first half of the season, we'll see what we do with that. I mean, we're probably going to play a little different just because if we're going to anticipate playing Division I, then we'll probably try to get a few Kansas Division I schools on our schedule. Just to get our feet wet in the first half of the season to do that.
Yeah, always a good test, those Kansas schools.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, Joel Wooton going to be doing the men's and the women's head coaching duties this year. Season is right around the corner. Joel, thank you for your time, and best of luck to you this year. Hang right in there.
Thank you. We'll do our best to survive this year.
And, of course, you're up here at the Lincoln campus, and so a lot of excitement around that, too. Yep. Just from the looks of the volleyball attendance, it looks like people are are coming out in some bigger numbers, easier to get to. A lot of, you don't have to travel that extra 45 minutes to get down to Beatrice. But anyway, Joel, thanks for your time.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much.
That is going to do it for this edition of The Den. We'll see you next time.
Okay, we'll see you.